Hey guys, welcome back to the Push Podcast. I'm Janelle.
And I'm Eddie. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to the world.
So this is a special episode. This is episode number 76, and we are recording this live for YouTube. Obviously, when you watch it on YouTube, it's not going to be live, but it's not going to be live on the podcast
You're
either.
doing this all wrong.
This is how we do things, though. So we got a lot of feedback that people want to see us interact, see the process. So not much to really see. We're just talking. I have glasses on. We're at a desk in a room in our office. We do have really cool bookshelves in the background, but that's about it.
Yeah. So let's get into it. Every time we get on, we do a what in the world.
Okay, you have one.
And we have had we watched some history the other day. Okay. Right. And so we watched.
We took a break from serial killers because Eddie thinks that I'm a deranged lunatic, and I am a bit obsessed, but whatever. So we started watching history because, Black History Month.
So Black History Month. And so we watched the FBI and MLK. I'm pretty sure I butchered that. I think it's MLK and FBI or something like that. And then I don't know how we got into Malcolm X, and then we watched Malcolm X, the Spike Lee.
From the 90s.
Right. Mm-hmm. So my what in the world is, like, these wives of these men, how in the world did they even
raise 4 kids while they were gone?
Yeah, it seemed like they were gone all the time. Like, it didn't seem like they were ever home. And so I just, I was looking at these women, I was like, wow, what in the world? Like, how did they even survive it? How did they keep sanity? How did they keep their identity in it?
They didn't.
They did.
Back in the 50s and 60s, that's just what women did.
But these were educated women. They weren't just
educated. I mean, Malcolm X's wife was a nurse, but at the same time, you want to have 6 kids, then you got to stay home, especially if you have a husband that chooses a career that requires lots of traveling and speaking in, different parts of the world.
Right.
And so I think that they decided on those roles and they stuck with them. And I'm sure it was hard. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And so I guess the question is when you have a relationship where one person in the relationship is in a gigantic movement, not just hey, my husband's a doctor. No, my husband is, someone died right now. I don't know what happened, but someone fell down. Not just any of these things are they are civil rights leaders. Mm-hmm. They don't go a 9 to 5. They're traveling across the world, pretty much putting their life in danger.
Wait, can I just say that's what you got out of it is the wives are homemakers, so sad for them. That sucks. But what I got out of it is, well, my whole family and my life is in jeopardy now because of some shit you want to do.
Right. Well, I think that's a big part, but I think there's a part where I think both of them obviously dealt with threats.
Are you talking about Martin Luther King and
right?
Malcolm
So
X?
Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, they both had death threats pretty much their entire time being in civil rights. But Malcolm X had his house bombed. Right, and so they had to literally pick up and leave, and he went to civil rights work the next day.
Right.
I don't know. How does that even happen?
I think for the ladies listening, we can be thankful that we don't have to do that in 2021. But
it's incredible.
I definitely think they paved the way. And I think we're getting ready to record an episode on seasons and how you grow out of things and you develop into new habits and take on new roles and new ways of thinking. And so I think over the years, women said, F this. I don't really want to stay home and raise 6 kids. And I want to feel accomplished and I want to step into something that's powerful and meaningful too. And so this is why, we do different things.
Yeah. And I think we see a different version of that. You see how active Michelle Obama is. And, obviously, when your husband's a president, that's a big deal. Right. And so
I don't think you can choose to not really be active.
Yes, you can.
Well, yeah. Okay. That's a whole nother political conversation, but So that's your what in the world?
Partly, yeah. My what in the world was that, and you kind of like made it sound like I was saying, oh, poor the wives. No, I was like,
I appreciate that you are, because you have 3 daughters and a wife that you should care about. So
yeah, I just thought it was
your
I'm sure
concern for us.
Yeah, and I know that they probably, changed their lives and made certain accommodations so that they can be supportive to their husbands, but I just think it was a tall order. And the other thing I want to say while we're on this topic is when you watch these like civil rights and documentaries, one of the things that you do see women play a major part in these movements, whether it be the organization of or just standing in the front lines, just playing a major part in it. So it was just one of the things I just kind of captured from all of that.
Yeah, I'll just say that shout out to the moms that are stay-at-home moms, like holding it down. If you've got a husband that travels, that's away from the house a lot, my hat goes off to you, because I'm not that girl.
Yeah,
I couldn't do it. Maybe I'm evil and my heart's not big enough, but I just can't stay. I need human interaction, like at an adult level, and when your kids are young, it's really difficult to not lose yourself, especially when you're speaking toddler terms all day and changing diapers and all that stuff. So shout out to all the stay-at-home moms who find great joy in that. I really, really commend you for that.
Yeah.
So this episode is about what we learned this week and why we think you should know it too.
Okay.
So I'm just going to be real with you. I've talked about it a couple of times on my social media posts. I'm a little obsessed with Clubhouse right now.
Okay.
And everything I learned this week was from Clubhouse. And so we're going to talk about that. But also, if you don't know what Clubhouse is, they're not paying me to do this. I just think it's kind of cool. Could help you guys. Those people that listen to the Push podcast, they're pushers. They want to learn. They want to grow. They want to develop. A lot of you that listen to the Push podcast, you're in our Pusher Society. And if you don't know what the Pusher Society is, you can head over to JanelleCopeland.com or go to Cope with Eddie's Instagram bio to figure it out. But the Pusher Society is a group of people who are looking to have conversations in a community where you can feel up-leveled. Mm-hmm. We talk about things about life, business, just different perspectives. We talked about, some racial stuff during the summer. We talked about life planning and goal setting towards the beginning of the year. And then we're going to do a quarterly check-in at the end of March, just to make sure that you feel good about the direction that your life is going. So if you don't have any accountability in your life, if you don't have friends, like we have some good friends now, but we got to a point in our marriage where we were raising kids and we were going to work and we had just outgrown a lot of our friends. And so we were trying to find friends in a community that we could have better conversations with. And so we wound up creating a community of our own. It's called the Pusher Society. So if you're interested, head over and have conversations with us monthly. But this is going to be I want to give you a taste of some of the things we talk about on the Pusher Society, which are pretty much the same topics we discuss on the podcast, but they would be in greater detail.
Yeah, and it brings the element of discussion. It brings the element of us being able to interact and coach and learn. And so I think that interaction can go a long way. And the conversations become very deep. They can become very rich. But one of the things I think that's really cool is you can listen to the Push podcast and you can say, oh, and I'm sure you're in your car talking back to us, because many people tell us that they talk back to and just interact with us.
Right.
Well, part of the Pusher Society, you can do that in real life.
That's right.
In 2D, because everything is virtual.
2D? Okay. Yes. Go with it. So what we learned, let's start with what I learned, and then we'll just kind of tag team and you can tell me what you learned. So number one, I was in a chat with Ty Lopez. I don't know if you guys know who Ty Lopez is. I'm going to be super real right now. I hated Ty Lopez like 5 years ago when I found out who he was, mostly because he was advertising in my YouTube feed. And every commercial that came on was a Ty Lopez commercial with like a Ferrari in the back. And it was just not my thing. Didn't need it. Didn't need to hear it. Wasn't trying to hear anything from being a billionaire because I was working on being a millionaire, right?
Right.
And so baby steps. Anyways, I got on Clubhouse, which again, they're not paying me to talk about, but If you enjoy podcasts, which you do because you're here, if you enjoy listening to TED Talks and just kind of learning, if you want to go for a run and just hear a conversation that inspires you to think differently, then Clubhouse is the app for you. I don't think that I would consider it a social media app because there's not a whole lot of like liking and commenting and interacting in that sense. You could definitely go on just to consume information and basically be in a room where high level conversations are happening, right?
Well, that's funny because I thought when I looked at it, I was like, this is like the definition of a social media app. Like it is completely about connection and being
networking
social
for
and
sure.
networking. I would think that the other platforms are more of like billboards for your personal life, because you can interact, but it's very much like, someone posted something, you see it 2 hours, 2 days later, and you respond to it. Where in Clubhouse, it's like simultaneously, like you can be a part of the conversation.
Yeah. Well, let's be real. If you're on Facebook, it's mostly, I see rants and like, just a lot of opinions on Facebook and just not a lot of stuff that I find value in. Unless you're in a private group and like we have Cake Sense, we have great conversations about running a baking business, right? But if you're on Instagram, it's more a visual platform.
Right.
So you get to see beautiful images. You get to see families together. It's more about what you see. And then, of course, there's the liking, the sharing, the commenting, that sort of thing. Clubhouse to me is you get on for two reasons. You're either going to consume or you're going to contribute.
Right.
And so when I say contribute, when you first sign up, which by the way, it is invitation only. Mm-hmm. So you have to find an invitation from a friend because we've given out so many invitations and I don't have any more. But I promise you, if you go on Facebook or Instagram and say, hey, I'm looking for an invitation to get on Clubhouse. Does anyone have one? I promise you someone will give you an invitation.
Someone will reload. They'll reload us soon.
So you get on Clubhouse and then the first thing you do is you select a bunch of preferences. Hey, what do you like? So I selected health, wellness, finances, stocks. I selected, LGBTQ community stuff, Black movement stuff, like all of the things that I'm interested. I selected lots of entrepreneurship stuff. And then there's clubs that you can join, like a billionaire mindset club, right? How I made my first $1 million club, stuff like that. So I joined things that I think I could contribute to, but also I can learn and consume from.
Right.
And you do the same, right?
I did the same thing. I found myself like choosing things like, I want to learn about like science and
yeah. So that's the great thing about it. It's like a live TED Talk. So here's the thing. It's not recorded. You can't go back and listen. So you got a little bit of FOMO, right? But one of our girls, Shalise, which was the one that's been telling us to get on for over 2 months now, she's like, I started following all these finance groups, joined all these clubs, and then when they go on, I get a notification. I go on, I listen. She said, I didn't know anything about stocks, and within the last 2 weeks, I've made $1,000 in the stock market. Sister, that's winning, right?
That's nice.
So that's something you need to know that we're working on right now is just, stepping into these rooms and these conversations. And we're talking high level people.
Right.
That are hosting these chats about whatever they want. And if you like the topic and it seems like an interesting conversation, you jump into the room. You have the option to raise your hand virtually because you can't see. I forgot if I said that or not. It's only audio. So the great thing is you don't have to get ready. I don't have to do my hair. I don't have to be camera ready, right? So I'm in this room called, like the Billionaire Mindset Club or something. And Ty Lopez, back to my Ty Lopez. So he's in there and I'm like, don't really know if I like this guy. And it turns out he's very knowledgeable. He reads a ton of books. He's got this superpower for quoting things that he's read, which Grant Cardone was making fun of him about. And so it was just a really cool room. So one of the things that I listened in on, one of the chats was what rich people teach their kids. That's a good topic.
Yeah.
Especially if you're raising kids that are over 10 years old and you're debating things like, do I give them an allowance? Or is it their responsibility to just clean the shit up because they live here for free? Right. Or, do we talk to them about money struggles or investments or, how much do you share with kids about your finances, right? And so one of the things that he said rich people teach their kids that money isn't scary or evil.
And it was interesting when you hear that, because I think many people will hear it and say, and they would agree, money is not like the root of all evil, which it's an interesting thing because that has been something many people have spread out there. Even hear that it's a biblical kind of thing where money is the root of all evil. But I think what happens is when you get into this kind of poverty mindset and you our survival mindset, it becomes an excuse, or it becomes an argument to kind of buck the system, right? Or you've seen people who have conversation who hate capitalism, right? And they say, it's the root of all evil,
right?
But that's not necessarily true.
People that say money is the root of all evil, do you think they're usually broke?
Oh yeah, you don't hear wealthy people don't say that money is the root of all evil. They like
money, yeah. And I think that they get a bad rap for that, right?
Right.
So here's one of the reasons why I want to talk about this. How did you grow up looking at money? Like, what was instilled in you about money when you were a kid?
Survival. It was all about having enough. It was about hearing words like, or phrases like, oh, we have extra money, right? So those are kind of the things that I think kind of resonate with me. My mom didn't necessarily say money was all the root of all evil, but it was definitely more of a conversation around just survival. We have enough money to make it. You got to work really hard for it. All those kind of things.
So mine was scarcity. Like there was never enough, right? It was like, you think money grows on trees? I don't have money for that. Like things like that would make you feel bad as a kid to ever ask for something or to talk about money because it wasn't something we really discussed.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really great conversation. Like, rich people are teaching their kids that, hey, we're going to talk about money in the first place. And money isn't scary or evil. Also, because traditionally they tend to have more, it comes from a place of abundance. Like money's out there. You just got to be willing to work for it. You got to be willing to invest or willing to be creative. Like I think that they teach you different ways to think about how to potentially generate money. Yeah.
And I think it's so important that people realize this. And I think when you think about that phrase, and if you're listening to this right now, think about it like this. Like the iPhone, your favorite television, your favorite, everything that you probably enjoy for the most part in the external world is driven by the competition to generate revenues, right? And because of that competition, because we're in the United States, and some people may be listening to this that are not in the United States, but our economy is driven by competition, supply and demand. And I think that when you think about that and you think about, wow, if I want to have a really nice car, the fact that there is a competitive market that I can get a really nice car is because of money.
Okay.
Part of the reason too is, and this is a double-edged sword, but our medical system, we have the finest medical, scientists in the United States, and we've had so many breakthroughs. And now there are also some things that I think that we do that I think because of money, it leads things to the wrong path, like more treatment than cure. But I do think that there's breakthroughs, and because of the fact that it's so competitive financially, we get the best doctors from all over the world that come to the United States.
So you're saying these are reasons why money's good?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think money's great. I think money's great. And I do think that once you learn, what your beliefs are about money, you can start to shift them.
Right.
Because we've been broke for many years of our marriage, in the beginning part of our marriage, and we made a ton of money, yet we had nothing to really show for it.
Right.
And it always felt like there wasn't enough, right? And then we had to read books, we had to listen to podcasts, we had to find different things that would inspire us to ask ourselves why we had the habits that we had with money. Because we did. Like you said that your mom said, oh, we have extra money. That's exactly what we did. Yeah. We'd get a raise or a bonus and we'd be like, yes, we're taking the vacation because we deserve this.
It's like we've been suppressed for so long, and now we get to go ahead and spend that money. And that's a mindset. When you change your attitude and you change your mind about money, what I realize is money is simply a tool.
Right.
It is a means. it is not the end. I think where the evil comes is when it's the end. When you're simply earning money simply because of the greed of having it. Not because of you can use it for a tool, not because you can use it to help, not because you can use it to give back. And we're seeing that now. Many of the richest people on our planet, their goal is to give it all away when they're done, and not to give it to their kids, but to give it to society, which society's infrastructure in itself is what allowed them in a lot of cases to make their fortune.
Yeah. So here's a little shift for you about money. If you were raised in a household where you had excitement, let's imagine your parents telling you like, hey, I'm going to give you $3 for doing the dishes, but remember, every dollar has a job.
Yeah.
What will you do to put these dollars to work?
I love that.
That would be game changing for me as a kid, because I would have got really creative and probably freaking started a business at 5. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
and that's exactly it. When somebody says you got to give these dollars a job, you're making them a means, not an end. You're giving it's becoming a tool for your kids. And so I think
and that doesn't make you greedy, people.
No, but I think
your kids how to multiply it.
Right. Because the thing is that most of the things that people want in life come down to freedom, right? And freedom to say, I want to be able to do this. I want to help this person. I want to be able to do these things and not have to worry about being in a survival situation or being deprived of anything that are necessities in life. And I think that when you really look at money and you say, okay, how do we generate enough income or wealth in our life to do what we want for the people we love? That's the best thing about it.
Yeah.
Right. If even if from a religious standpoint, if you didn't have money, you couldn't give to your church.
Right.
Right. And so money is definitely something important. I love that.
Here's another thing that they talked about that I thought was really awesome. And that is like patience, postponing desires now. So like delayed gratification.
Yeah.
And so they talked about the fact that there was this Stanford marshmallow experiment. And basically, you sit your kid down and you say, hey, here's the thing. They get all excited about this bowl of marshmallows or bowl of candy. You guys may have seen one of the Kardashians did it with her little girl, Stormy. Sat her in front of a bowl of candy. She got all excited and she said, okay, I'll tell you what, you can have one right now, or you can wait for mommy to go to the bathroom. And if I go to the bathroom and you wait patiently, then when I come back, you can have 3.
Nice.
And so that's teaching your kids delayed gratification. Can you imagine what a game changer that is?
Or it's training them to be.
Or it's training them to be like self-aware and to exercise discipline, right? So ask yourself as a damn adult, like, what would you do? Do you choose the cookie right now? Do you choose the 3 cookies this weekend on your cheat day? And, I just think it's good to ask yourself, like, am I a person who exercises discipline, or am I a person who tells myself, oh, I just don't have any willpower, eat the cookie?
Right.
That's important. And so a lot of those kind of tie back into money.
And so for adults, it comes down to, did you buy that really expensive car when you probably could have cut down your car payment and you could have saved, or you could have invested that money and made some money on that and drove a car that maybe it's not the most appealing, but does the job for you long term.
Right.
Like, and those are big decisions that people have to make. But I think those are the little tests that you can do with yourself to say, hey, can I handle this delayed gratification game?
Well, I'll tell you, I haven't been good at it when it comes to cars. My entire life, since I've become an adult that's earned my own money, I have always had a new car. Like, I've leased a car. It's been important to me. I lease because I know I want a new car. So why would I buy it and then, know that I'm not going to want it 5 or 6 or 7 years from now? So I lease a car for 3 years, drive it, take it back, happily leave with another one. Right. And so, this is the only time in my life at 42 years old that at December 2020, I completely paid off my car and I don't have a car payment.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how badly I want to run out and buy a new car.
I didn't know that.
But I made the decision to wait a minimum of 24 months to have no car payment, because I'm still going to take that money as though I have a car payment, transfer it over to a savings account, and then we can see what we can do to invest that.
Yeah, and
that's delayed gratification, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm at 42 trying to work on that, right?
I think that, to me, that sounds like a really good just exercise in itself.
A 2-year exercise, which again, patience, discipline, delayed gratification.
What do you think so one of the things we talk about in the Pusher Societies is the 4 pillars of fitness, right? And so that's physical fitness, mental fitness, spiritual fitness, and emotional fitness.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah, I didn't miss one. I just want to make sure. Which one do you think that probably taps into? Do you think it's more of like a mental game or emotional game? Because there's a part of you that's really excited to do it. And the reason why I asked that is because I think when you said that, I thought, wow, that's a really good exercise of willpower. That's a really good exercise of discipline. But I think discipline lines up differently for some people. Sometimes it's just a mental game for people. Sometimes it's like emotional.
For me, it's mental.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not super emotional. I mean, I don't know. Like, if my best friend pulled up in my dream car, I might be like, oh, I love it. But shoot, I want to go out and get it. And I got to wait for 2 years, right? I wouldn't be a hater. I would just be, it probably would trigger some sort of emotion where I'd be like, I'm itchy now to get it, you know, especially because the thing is, when you have the money to get it, that's a whole nother like level.
Right. And the reality is we have the means that you can say, hey, yeah, let's go get a new car.
Right.
And it wouldn't be a big deal. We've had a car payment, or, you know, we can look at, okay, can we put some money aside and do cash in the next couple of months? Like, that would be something. But I think that is,
want to wait.
And that's the wealth difference, right? People with wealth don't just go buy new cars because they want to buy a new car. They do it because of it's part of a plan.
And they also don't rush into things.
Right.
So shout out to Dan. I don't know his last name, but he's my neighbor at the end of the cul-de-sac. He's 80 years old.
Good old Dan.
Yeah. He bought himself a brand new truck, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. He said, I waited. I knew I wanted a truck. I narrowed it down to see what kind. And then I waited to see, you know, was the dealership going to get a trade-in? He said this, not me. He said, was some old lady's husband going to die? And then I could buy, you know, his car that was in tip-top shape. So he did that, waited 8 months, and got his dream car for $30,000 less than if he were to go drive it brand new off of the lot. Yeah. And that inspired me so much. I was like, you know what? That's what I think wealth is like having the patience to just exercise, like waiting and just knowing that the right deal is going to come to you and you're doing it to save.
Yeah. And that's what I love.
So amazing.
I love that. And I love that because that to me was an exercise of kind of emotional fitness, because you think about some people are so impulsive, right? Yeah. Our entire economy, and for the most part, is built on impulse buying, right? You get the emotional draw of a commercial, or you see someone living a life, or whatever the case may be, and you're emotionally driven. The grocery store capitalizes on that, right? They put all the emotional snacks at the front of the store, so you just pick that up just automatically. And so I just love that's a really great exercise, and I think for me too, it's a mental fitness game. But I definitely think that it taps into that emotional fitness.
Love it. Okay, so since you brought up fitness, I'm going to go on to the next thing. I learned from Jim Quick, who is a master brain memory expert.
Right.
I had the honor of meeting Jim in person at a mastermind that I was in a few years back. And he's a great guy, but he's all over YouTube. He's got a podcast. He has a brand new book that I'm reading called Limitless. Because as I get older, I will say that I'm like, oh, am I losing my memory? Like, what's going on? And Jim talks about, you know, doing brain exercises just like you would do physical exercises to exercise your muscle. Your brain is the same.
Yeah.
And so I'm really intrigued by that. And I'm trying to schedule more time to exercise my brain. An example I can give you is, remember when the kids were little, we would sit on the floor for hours and play memory.
Yeah.
With the cards.
Yeah.
Haven't played that shit in 15 years, right? So I don't know that I would be able to win at that right now, just because that's a part of my brain that I'm not really tapping into. I watch the kids. For those of you that don't know, our two younger kids, they're actresses. They memorize 2.5 hours worth of dialogue.
Yeah.
And to me, like, the thought of that makes me want to cry.
Not only memorizing what they have to say, but like their acting mannerisms and knowing what the other actor is going to say so that they have the right responses. It's just
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
So
sure.
I don't want my brain to go to shit. And so I have to start exercising it. So Jim Quick talks about chronotypes, which I had never heard about. Chronotype, right? So I write it down. This is how I learn. I take notes. And then basically it comes down to there's 4 different types of animals that represent how people sleep and like when the best time is to do something in your schedule. Okay, so stay with me. So
I'm with you.
So the animals basically just think there's 4 different categories, 4 different chronotypes, right? So each person would take a test and then it would tell you, are you more like a dolphin, a lion, a bear, or a wolf? So I read that most people are bears. So here's how it works. A dolphin, they're light sleepers. What? I'm a lion. You don't even know what it is. So dolphins are light sleepers who are often diagnosed with insomnia. That's not really you. Lions tend to wake up early with lots of energy. By early evening, they're exhausted.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, you are a lion then. Bears, internal clocks track the rise and the fall of the sun, and they need a full 8 hours of sleep at night. I need a full 8 hours of sleep, but I can't tell you that I wake up when it's, when the sun comes out.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
And then the last one, wolves. Wolves have a hard time waking up early and are most energetic in the evening. Shout out to the wolves because that's me. The best ideas come to me at night.
Right.
So this theory is, this chronotype is basically saying that like it's impossible to have the perfect day, but you can like schedule your workouts. You can schedule when you're supposed to be creating content. You can schedule the times where you're supposed to be creative. So if you're trying to write a book and you're like, okay, Mondays from 10 until noon, I'm going to sit down and write. But if you're a wolf, that might not work for you.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was crazy because I thought I was crazy. I was like, okay, everyone's gearing up to go to bed every night, but my brain's flowing and I have a tough time turning it off.
Right.
Jordan is exactly like me.
Well,
Jordan can stay up until 4 a.m.
Partly to say, is it nature or nurture? Because Jordan has trained herself to stay up.
She likes it though. Her brain is wide awake just like mine.
Yeah. I mean, mine
Leave
just
us alone.
Mine just shut, like you would think that there were light switches being turned off.
Yeah,
like,
you get super sleepy. It's crazy. If you guys want to ever see Eddie fall asleep at dinner, take him to the Cheesecake Factory because it's super dim in there. And every single time we go, he's like nodding off. And he's like, I hate this place. It's so dark in here.
I
he
don't
starts
ever
like
complain,
falling asleep.
But when we go there, for whatever reason, I think
every
to myself,
time you complain.
Why is it so dark? Are they trying? Is it a sensory thing where you can taste the food differently? It drives me crazy. They need to turn those lights up a little bit.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Okay, so one I'm going to just go over really, really quick because I think I want to talk about it in the next episode. And this is something from Brendan Burchard. And it's 30 questions to ask your parents before it's too late.
Wow.
That's a whole episode in itself.
Yeah,
So I think I want to give you guys some homework. If you just Google it, it's on this website called Beyond the Interview, and it's 30 questions to ask your parents before it's too late. So I think for the next week, that should be our assignment. Like you take the 30 questions, you ask your mom, I'll ask my parents. The thing is you're supposed to either film it, record it, something, so that way you can hear them explain it, answer it,
like
their
that.
excitement. And so the theory is Brendan's dad, he passed, not the theory, that's what happened. His dad passed away, but he had asked him these questions while he was in the hospital, I think battling cancer. And at least 3 times a year, he said he sits down and he watches the entire thing just so that way he can kind of feel like his dad's there.
I love that.
It gives me chills to think about, like, it's one thing when someone leaves you. It's another thing when you've asked them all the questions that you needed to ask them before they left.
Yeah.
And you have it on record so you can watch it and rewatch it and see their emotions and their mannerisms. So I thought that was really cool.
I love that.
Isn't that awesome?
So is all the things you learned this week?
I have one more.
Oh, okay. Because I got a couple.
Okay. Well, you can go.
Get mine in. Oh, okay. I can go right now?
Fine, go.
No, go ahead. Say yours.
Last one, which is something we talk about often, but I found this to be the common theme in every group that I was in around entrepreneurship. Not only are people lacking confidence and they're afraid, but they want to avoid pain by any means necessary. And so in every group that I was in, every millionaire, billionaire, whatever speaker was on the stage speaking, they said the same thing. And basically that is, you have to pursue things that have obstacles, period. Like they said, humans are lazy, they hate taking risks and they don't want to get out of their comfort zone, right? They want to avoid disappointment, they want to avoid challenges and all of that stuff, right? And that's not going to get you far. Like if you're just so stuck behind all of this fear and all of that stuff, like you have to find a way to just lean into things that have obstacles because there's less people there. So the chances of you succeeding there are actually greater than you think because you're the only crazy fool that's willing to do it, right?
Yeah, and one of the things that kind of bleeds into one of the things I learned this week was something similar to that. What I found, especially on Clubhouse, is that people ask questions mostly designed in a way where they're trying to get the magic bullet.
Okay.
Right. And so they know that the answer that's out there that they probably already know involves a lot of hard work.
Right.
Involves a lot of discomfort. And so I find that people ask questions to see, is there a way to get around that?
Right.
Right. And
can I tell you what the most asked question was to me? Like I spoke in many groups this week. Most asked question, how do I grow my social media following faster?
Yeah.
Faster compared to what? What are you doing now? Well, I'm posting every day. I'm doing all the things, but it's a lot of work. How come I'm not at
1 million people yet?
But it's a lot of work and it's not growing as fast as I wanted. I wanted to grow. So one, that's your expectations.
Right.
Probably because you're busy looking at everyone else's numbers and hoping for more, which I totally understand. And number two, though, when I ask them, well, tell me what you're doing right now to grow your following. They're always on the right track. They just don't like the way it feels. It's work. It's hard. It takes consistency. There's obstacles. Sometimes people don't like your stuff. Guess what? That's life. Sometimes people don't like your stuff,
Right. And that compares. Anytime people say more, better, faster, it's a comparison term where you're comparing it to something. So there's something out there that you think it's happening faster for someone else than it is for you, and that comes back to the whole comparison thing. But you hear that for everything. Like when people want to lose weight, how come I don't lose weight fast enough?
Right.
Well,
I mean, I said that last week though, because I was like, let me get this straight.
But also that was compared to a younger version of yourself.
Right.
Right. And so you make those comparisons, which really talks about which really leads into what we talked about last week when it comes to hey, I'm 40 now. I think I know what I need to do, but I've never done this at 40.
Right.
Right. And so it's going to be a whole different ball game. And the timetable is undetermined because I don't know how long it's supposed to take.
Right. Well, I just tell you, when you hit 40, things happen. They come off differently.
Right. Oh my goodness.
They happen at a different pace.
So one of the things I learned that was very interesting, because I've been reading a book from Martin Luther King, which I think is fantastic, and I shared with you, and I shared on the podcast one of the things I learned about equality. But what I found in just conversations with different people is that we often have a different definition for something that everybody wants the same of, right? And so people want to be understood, but there's a different level of common ground or understanding. People want wealth, but there's a definition difference from being wealth. Some people see wealth as, hey, I need to make sure that I have constant income coming in. I need to be a billionaire. Right. Some people see wealth like, hey, if I can make six figures, that feels like wealth to me. Right. But when you're connecting with people and you're trying to build something with someone, or you're collaborating, you have to have a shared definition for things that you're working on, whether it be a completion, what done looks like, all those different things. I thought that was really interesting from that standpoint of learning that. But also, I'm reading this book called Clarity. Okay. Right. And then this book is basically talking about how to get clear and how to find clarity. And one of the things he's talking about our interpretations of the world. And he said something I thought was really interesting. He said that we are actors within our own interpretations.
Okay.
Right. And so we literally are playing a part in the interpretations that we see the world. And I just thought that was interesting because you think about all the things that you're into, you think about all the, maybe the conversations on Clubhouse and all these things, and you're playing this part, this perception that you have of yourself, and you show up in that way, but it may not be your authentic self. It may be just a version that you're trying to make sure people still see, even though maybe your mind's changing, your heart's changing, something's changing about you, but you still have to play this role.
So it feels unauthentic.
Right. And authenticity is so important because, and it goes to the next thing I learned, but go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say kind of two things come up for me with that. Number one, Clubhouse is about like you raise your hand and they say, hey, Eddie, come on up, ask your question, tell us a little bit about you. People have a really tough time like quickly telling, people about them. So, you could say, hey, my name is Janelle. I have a podcast. I am a owner of the Cake Mama's Bakery that I recently, retired from. I teach entrepreneurs from all over how to turn their passions into a profitable business. Like, at what point is it too much?
Right.
Like, how much resume do I give you? Because I do a lot of shit, right? I'm a mother of 3. I enjoy fitness, but I love me some cookies. Like, how much do you want to know? So that's the first thing that comes up. But the second thing that comes up is, we were talking in the previous episode about my friend Joni Davis. She's on Instagram, Sporty Style 247. And she's been in fitness for 25 years. And she's like, I'm telling you right now, I don't really want to talk about fitness anymore. Like, she's going through this shift. Her son's getting older. She's older now. And she doesn't want to talk about glutes anymore. She wants to talk about the fact that women want to lose weight, but they're not willing to do the mental work that comes with the weight loss work, right? And so I'm trying to encourage her right now, like, you get to change. Your passion gets to change. You get to change your message. You get to bring people along the journey with you,
right? Which
is very much, that's why she reached out to me, because I did that with the Cake Mamas. You know me as the Cake Mama. I don't really want to talk cake all the time.
Right.
I want to talk about your mind and teaching your kids how to live in an abundance mindset around money and teaching about discipline. And I want to help people push not just in their baking business, but to a greater version of themselves, because that's what I find makes me feel really good and fulfilled.
Right.
So what's your take on that? Like, what's your bio first? Welcome to the stage, you guys. Eddie Copeland. Eddie, tell me about yourself.
But that's the thing. Like,
wait, what's your bio?
No, but hold on. What I was going to say was, people show up to Clubhouse, which Clubhouse has some really amazing parts of, and I think you can learn a lot. And then there's this part of it's like people are trying to like really force the issue and be a person that has credibility and as an expert in that space, but you can tell when someone gets into a conversation that they don't belong in. But because of their interpretation of who they think they are, they don't humble themselves and ask the question. They're constantly just trying to be the person that's an expert. Like, you were in a conversation the other night where I definitely thought that someone was giving advice, but they weren't at a level where they should be giving advice.
Right? So I have a meme that I want to create, like the 10 terrible pieces of advice that I heard on Clubhouse this week. And how they're wrong, but that's mean.
Yeah, and I think that people don't have the malice to they're not being malicious but giving bad advice, but people are stepping into things that they should be curious about first before they really start speaking and adding to the conversation. So that's just one of the things I just took from it. But also, I think that what was super important is for those that are listening to that and they're going, "What the hell is Eddie talking about? What do you mean when you say to someone that, hey, you're an actor in your own interpretation?" What I'm saying is that, like, you're able to change your life when you change your interpretation of how you see yourself.
Okay.
And that means you change your interpretation of how you see the world. And so I thought it was really amazing because when people are trying to get clarity, what's really stopping them from getting clarity is they're so distracted by the things they think they need to upkeep. And they need to relieve themselves with partly how they see the world.
Okay.
Right. And so they see this world as a busy place. So that was one thing. And we can get into another. But then one thing that's
a deeper conversation.
I know it's a deeper conversation. But you asked me what I learned. That's what I learned.
I love it. But I mean, do we talk about it? Do we move past it?
Well, I want to talk about this other thing because I think that you may get something out of this one.
Okay.
Right?
I get something out of everything that you say, honey, because I adore you and I think you're really smart.
Well, one of the things I learned, I love you too. I think you're very smart as well.
But before you do it, I'm sorry. Can you just tell me your bio?
Well,
ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Clubhouse stage, Edward Copeland.
Hello, I am the co-host of the Push Podcast. My name is Eddie Copeland, the best podcast on the planet. I'm also a coach, teacher, leadership expert. I've been in the retail and corporate world for the last 20 years, leading teams to do amazing things.
Okay, thank you.
All right, perfect. All right, back to our regular scheduled program. It is crazy. I heard this term. Someone said that you can't. Okay, this is very interesting. I want to make sure I get this right. You're looking at me, it's making me.
Okay, I'm not gonna look at you.
But it said that if you're looking to grow, to change, to do anything, the problem we have in a society where it stops people, we have an intolerance for boredom.
Amen. 1,000%.
No, think about that. An intolerance for boredom.
We cannot be bored.
Right.
My buddy Jim Quick talks a lot about the fact that although technology has made, our lives so much easier, we have become so stupid because we don't know how to sit with our idle thoughts. We don't know how to exercise creativity. We don't know how to do a lot of things that would spark new ideas.
Right.
Because we're so distracted.
Well, you think about all the books that we have behind us right now, and they came from a place of boredom. I don't think people were writing a book or, whether it be philosophy or their life story in this oh my God, I'm so excited right now, right? And you think about the fact that we look for things to distract us. We look for things to pull us away from the thing that we're supposed to be focused on.
Life,
whatever you're trying to do. And so I interact with so many people that tell me they don't know what they want to do next in life. They have this anxiety, they have all these things, but at the same time, they have not given themselves any time to be bored enough to get that right idea.
Yeah.
For their mind to speak to them and say, hey, have you thought about this?
Yeah. I agree with you. That's exactly how the Cake Mamas was born.
Right.
I didn't have a job. I was kind of going crazy, thinking about all of our problems, how we're going to pay our bills. And then I was like, okay, line in the sand, can't do anything about it. What could I do to find some joy right now?
Right.
I'm going to put on the TV while I cook dinner, and I'm going to enjoy it because I'm blessed to be able to cook dinner.
But even in that,
well, yeah, distraction.
You find a distraction.
It was in the background, right? So then I get oh, that's interesting. Cake making. That's cool. I'm saying I wouldn't have found that idea though if I wasn't open to, right? So then I go, I haven't had a hobby in a really long time. I'm going to go buy some stuff and I'm going to make some cakes.
There you go.
And I leaned into it because it was something I found enjoyment in. Fast forward 10, 11 years later, during 2020, I was like, I want to be bored. I want to slow things down. I'm going to try something I've never done. I fell in love with gardening and plants and succulents. And then someone asked me, oh my God, can I place an order? And I was like, nope. That would make it a business. This is a hobby. This is something I enjoy. I'm finding joy in. But I think that your creativity gets inspired when you have those moments to do things that you don't normally do. Right.
But think about it like this. And I can't tell you that I have done it a lot.
Yeah, you need a hobby.
No, but think about this. When was the last time you just sat down somewhere without your phone, without a TV on, without a book, just with your thoughts?
I sit down a lot with my notebook and a pen and my thoughts.
No notebook, just your thoughts.
Well, I have really good thoughts. I would forget them, so I write them down.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Writing down, that's fine. That's not a huge distraction. But my challenge for the audience and for the pushers out there, when was the last time you just sat down somewhere with no distraction.
You mean like a meditation?
Like a meditation, or in some cases, a book.
Okay.
Right? Because some people say, oh, I can't read. I can only do audiobooks.
Lots of people,
the reason why is because you're intolerant. You need to be entertained. The person's voice is entertaining you,
right,
instead of it being something where you have to sit with your own words in your mind as you're reading.
So we're prescribing boredom.
Yeah, I'm prescribing boredom. I'm saying go get bored. Because I think that's...
Like read a boring book?
Well, here's the thing. It's interesting that when people talk about reading, they're like, oh, I want to read an exciting book. I'm like, okay, that's great. And that's going to entertain you. And I think that's wonderful. But I will tell you, it is the boring books that you read that you go, damn. There's
quite a few up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you read and you go, oh my God, that is profound. Like, and so that, to me, those are the things you have to be, if you increase your tolerance for boredom, I'm sure you're going to get a lot more things out of your time with yourself, also the time with reading certain books and stuff like that. So,
I mean,
that's
I get where you're going with it, but I do wish that more people would sit down and just kind of, live in the what if. Like a lot of times I'll start a page with what if. What is that? Like, how often do you give yourself time to think about what your perfect dream life is going to be, or, what would make you super happy, or what if you won the lotto, or what if, something amazing happened.
And I think when you do like get intentional with those things, and like you say, I'm going to direct my mind on this thing, what if, and you stay there, not pick up your phone and look at Pinterest to say, I got to get some ideas for this what if, but really just sit there and really cultivate that. I think you can get a lot out of it.
I agree.
And I think that when you think about being authentic and authenticity, I think it comes in that place of boredom where you find out this is who you really are.
Amen. Amen.
There you go. You almost
So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Push Podcast. Again, we're always looking for new pushers to join the Pusher Society. If you want to have conversations like this with us once a week and be in a community of like-minded people, then definitely head over to JanelleCopeland.com. I don't know, if you're pushing through in business, you can pick up my 18 success tips for business. If you want a little daily motivation, Eddie Copeland's been doing daily pushes on his Instagram. Push through. And that's about it. Thank you guys so much. Please, if this episode served you in any way, take 30 seconds to just leave us a rating and a review. We would really appreciate it. It helps us create better content for you. So continue to push through, and we love you. Bye.
Bye.